Award-winning natural bodybuilder and international executive chef Ramel Griardi shares his best recipes for building strength. Sports performance trainer and nutrition expert Joe Arco coaches us through the nutritional components of those recipes and shares his knowledge working with professional athletes.
The wife and kids are gone, it's poker night, and you're hosting. You've been training hard and trying to stay lean, but you still want to be able to enjoy eating with your buddies without having to sabotage your diet. So what do? You turn to Body Fuel's bodybuilding chef Ramel to show you some recipes to keep your friends happy and your training progress on track.
We have 3 dishes here, Joe. We have a nice pizza with grilled chicken, some barbecue sauce, some feta cheese, and some tomatoes.
That's going to be awesome.
We also have a nice chili, some lean ground chicken, some tomatoes, some onions, some white navy beans, some peppers, and some chipotle peppers.
Now, the chipotle is going to be amazing in that chili. And you know what? That's a little bit of a twist on the chili as opposed to using a regular ground beef.
And we're going to have some chicken fingers that's going to be baked, not fried.
Now, that's going to save us a tremendous amount of fat, but also give us a lot of high-quality protein.
Now, we're going to start off with some nice chili.
Okay, what's the first step here?
The first step is we're going to crank that oven on.
Sure, let's get some heat going on there.
And we're going to place our oil inside there. Now, what I like to do is I always like to infuse the flavors in the oil. So I'm going to start infusing the flavors by adding some garlic in there.
Now, what we're going to do with this chili is we're going to spend a little bit of time with it, because you know what? Whenever I'm making chili, I like to just kind of let it simmer off for a few hours. So, we're going to start this a little bit ahead of time, get all this done.
I'm going to add some herbs.
Now, what kind of herbs do you have in there?
Now, we have some sage because it's going to be chicken.
Okay.
So you want that sage flavor inside there, some rosemary and some thyme.
And those all work very well with chicken. So once this is going to start to heat up, we're going to get that going. Okay, so we'll get this garlic here all sauteed. Now, as I mentioned before, we're going to kind of cook this and let this simmer for a few hours, and then we're going to take care of the other meals.
We're going to add some onions. We want to let that saute, just soften up a little bit there.
Now, you know what? Chili's got to be one of my favorite meals. The reason being, you know what? It's so easy to make. You can pretty much add whatever you want to it. But if you really want to, you can make it so lean with some, different protein sources and add whatever beans you want in there to give you some good carbohydrates.
Now we're going to add a little bit of chipotle pepper. The chipotle pepper is actually a jalapeno pepper that's been smoked. So it's going to have you that smoky flavor that you want in the chili.
Fantastic. Reminds me of like a cookhouse type of smell.
Exactly.
Now, you don't need to cook these onions and garlic too long, just enough to start browning them and caramelizing them.
And just a little bit of what we call it sweating the onions and garlic.
Sweating the onions.
Sweating the onions, that's right. We're going to add our peppers.
And the pepper's going to add such a nice color to this chili. Not only that, but give it a nice thermogenic effect too.
And we're going to add our lean ground chicken. Now, we just want to brown that chicken off a little bit. You don't have to cook it fully throughout because you're going to cook it for, what, roughly 2 hours?
Yeah. Now, what's the benefit of, simmering these chilies or soups and stuff like that for a longer period of time?
You're building a lot of flavors in there. So your chili is going to have that really nice flavor in there, and especially with that chipotle pepper, going to have that little bit of smoke in there.
I'm looking forward to this like you wouldn't believe.
You want to add your salt and pepper. Always season your food, Joe. And a little bit of pepper.
Now, what other kind of ingredients can we add into this?
You could add pretty much anything you want. It's a chili. We're going to add our navy beans, the little white ones that we have here.
Now, navy beans are extremely powerful in terms of high fiber content, plus good carbohydrates. They have a good complex carbohydrates that will help fuel the body.
Now, if you have canned beans, you want to rinse it out a couple of times just because there's a lot of starch buildup there, and it might make you feel a little bit bloated.
So by rinsing that off, you're going to really kind of get rid of all that starch around the bean.
Exactly. So we're going to add some tomatoes.
Break those up a little bit. What else we got in here?
And we're going to add a little bit more of the plum tomatoes, the juice part of it. So a little crushed tomatoes in there.
Nice. Now this is already starting to smell absolutely wonderful. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of mix this around a little bit. We're going to let this kind of cook and simmer off and let some of those, those flavors and everything else infuse into this chili.
Especially with that, I love chipotle peppers. I don't know why.
Now I'm assuming too, this is a little runny right now, but by simmering this off for a few hours, it'll start to thicken up a little bit more as well.
And you know what? The longer you simmer it and the longer it stays, the better the flavors come together.
So I'm assuming you want me to throw down the heat on this a little bit?
Just let it go down to a little bit of a simmer.
Okay.
And we're going to let it cook off for roughly 2 hours.
And we're back on poker night. We have our step 1 of our 3 dishes with our chili that, ideally you want to simmer for about an hour and a half.
Now, you're using lean ground chicken here, not beef.
No, and we're gonna save a lot of fat by using that chicken, but still have all the flavor.
And a little bit of chipotle peppers to give you that nice smoke flavor.
That's gonna taste absolutely fantastic. Now we're gonna still keep this cooking for another 20 to 30 minutes, and in the meantime, continue with our other dishes. What's next?
Next is we have pizza.
Okay.
Now, instead of traditional pizza, I like to use a little bit of barbecue sauce instead of tomato sauce.
One of my favorite cheat meals is actually, you know what, pizza. And ironically enough, barbecue sauce is one of the things I put on instead of tomato sauce all the time. I love that extra little flavor that I get from the barbecue sauce.
It's a little bit sweeter, but also has that tangy flavor too.
Now we're gonna be using a nice whole wheat crust here, based almost like a thin pita bread. So we're gonna save a lot of carbohydrates by using a smaller pizza, but also a thinner crust and our own whole wheat crust.
Now, Joe, do you like the cheese on top or on the bottom?
I'm a cheese on top kind of guy.
Okay, so we'll start adding our chicken first.
Okay, and now one of my biggest pet peeves whenever I get chicken on pizza is I never get enough chicken. So one thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure every single person gets a lot of chicken on their slices.
Now, if you look at this, this is a lot of chicken.
Now we got a full chicken breast here. You know what, if you have more people coming over, you can probably do 2 pieces of pizza.
We're gonna make sure that this pizza is covered with chicken.
Every slice on here is gonna probably have about maybe 2 to 3 ounces of chicken, which can give you almost about 20 grams of protein.
Now we're gonna add some onions, some white onions on this.
Nice, that will be really nice once that comes out of the oven, that onion starts to caramelize on top of the pizza.
And some fresh tomatoes on there.
That's gonna taste absolutely fantastic. I love tomatoes when they come out of the oven, they have a nice smell to them.
And they actually get a little bit sweeter because you ever have like oven dried or oven roasted tomatoes, it's actually a lot sweeter than regular tomatoes.
And we're gonna finish up here.
Just a little seasoning, always season your food.
Now this is gonna go into the oven at 350 for how long?
For roughly about, I would say about 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
And we're gonna add our feta cheese.
I'm gonna give this a little bit of a stir, see how we're doing here. Oh, it's starting to smell absolutely fantastic.
You know what, you could lower down that to a little bit of a simmer there.
Okay. Now compared to all the high fat cheeses that you normally get on a regular pizza, we're gonna use a nice feta cheese. Now feta cheese is also very high in protein. 1 ounce of feta is gonna give you about 5 grams of protein as well.
Now, remember, it's boneless, skinless chicken fingers that we're making here, so it's actually a lot leaner.
Now, one of the things when you're getting chicken fingers from the store, even when you're getting the boxed chicken fingers and making them at home, is there's a lot of breading on there, and usually they're very high in fat, especially when you deep fry them.
We're gonna go and season our chicken breast as well, too.
Okay.
So we're gonna place our chicken breast into the egg whites.
Okay.
And we're gonna use a little bit of
Your little secret marinade over
secret
here?
marinade, secret seasoning here. It's kind of
What's
like
in there?
Colonel Sanders here. We have 7 herbs and spices. Actually, our sage, our rosemary, and our thyme.
Okay. And now what's the, these
are
breadcrumbs?
whole wheat breadcrumbs, actually.
Okay. So that's going to act as kind of our batter or our crispiness on the outside of the chicken.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we have our tray there. Can you place that tray?
So we have a tray here with some parchment paper on it.
We're gonna place our chicken fingers in the egg whites first.
Okay.
And then we're gonna bread them. You wanna just bread them lightly. You don't wanna overcoat them. You don't want too much breadcrumbs in there at all.
Okay.
So why don't we do that? See how it's lightly breaded, Joe? So it's not gonna have too much carbohydrates in there, so.
Now we're also getting here is making sure that we're using a nice piece of chicken breast, because you don't really know the chicken breast that you get from the box. A lot of times it's just chicken pieces or leftover chicken, chicken bits that they kind of ground up and make chicken fingers out of. But we're really making sure that we're getting a nice high quality protein here as well.
Actually, that's true, Joe. You know what? A lot of times it is actually ground chicken. It's not real chicken, or either that or it's just a ground chicken breast. So this is actually real chicken breast that's not been ground. It's whole chicken breast. So egg whites, and then a little breading. So we're gonna place that into our oven with our pizza.
Now, how long is this gonna take to cook?
About 10-15 minutes.
Now, one of the best ways of kind of reducing the cooking time here is what Chef Ramel's done is really cut these chicken strips nice and small. So that way they won't really take too long in the oven to cook at all.
So this is our last of our chicken.
Okay. So I'll hand these to you.
And I have the pizza as well too.
Now, how about I hold those while you open up the oven?
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
No problem. There you go. There you go. The pizza and the fingers are going to take about another 10 minutes in the oven. We're going to continue simmering our chili, and when we come back, we're going to take out our pizza, we're going to plate our fingers, and you know what? Our buddies will have no idea how good this is for them.
That's right, Joe. They're never going to know.
we're back. The guys are almost here. We're gonna shuffle up and deal pretty soon, but first we gotta finish plating these meals.
That's great, Joe. We're gonna start off with our chili.
Okay.
Will you grab me that bowl, please?
Sure. Now this chili in here has a couple of red peppers, some yellow peppers. We have that extra lean ground chicken, plus those white navy beans.
And don't forget the chipotle peppers.
So if you're working out and you want to refuel the body, not to mention pack on some serious muscle with some good quality protein, this chili is perfect for you.
Look at that chili, Joe.
It's a great low-fat alternative to regular chilies. Now we're going to set this aside right here. Now in the oven we've had for the last 10 minutes, we have our chicken fingers that it was amazing what you did with those chicken fingers as opposed to those regular heavy breaded chicken fingers. We put a nice breading on there.
Very light.
Ramel's secret recipe, if you may.
7 herbs and spices.
Plus we had our own version of a healthy pizza. I cannot stand when there's not enough chicken on our pizza, so we made sure we packed on a lot of protein onto that pizza.
So I'm going to grab the pizza and
Let's
the chicken fingers.
Let's see what that looks like.
Oh, look at that pizza.
Now this is absolutely perfect. So if you notice here, the crust on the outside of the pizza is nice and brown. Not to mention, all that feta started to brown perfectly as well. So that's going to really, really bring out some nice flavors.
Why don't you grab me that plate there?
Sure.
We'll grab that pizza off here. Beautiful.
Oh. Smell that.
Oh, the aromas are killing me, Joe. And look at those great chicken fingers.
These look absolutely fantastic. Now, you know what the best thing about this is? All the fat that we save by baking these instead of deep frying, but you know what? They still taste as great. Now, Ramel, where's the plum sauce for these chicken fingers?
You know what? I don't like plum sauce. I like a little Palmery mustard, which is the Cidre de Dijon mustard, and a little bit of agave.
Now, agave is very similar to, probably like honey. It's very sweet to taste, but you know it's got very little impact on blood sugar levels. So this little concoction that Ramel is making is going to be nice, sweet, and tangy as well.
And place that on the side, Joe.
Oh, that looks absolutely fantastic.
And you know what? We're going to paste a little bit of olive oil on that pizza just to get it nice and moist.
Now, you know what? Ramel's going to be losing a lot of money tonight playing poker, but guess what? We're not losing any taste. So next time it's a main event fight or a big game on TV or just a poker night, it doesn't mean your training has to suffer. We have 3 wonderful dishes that you can serve your friends that they're going to enjoy just as much as you do. So you know what? I think it's time to shuffle up and deal.